West Virginia is a state known for its iconic cryptids, with many mysteries hiding deep within the Appalachian wilderness. But one of the oldest cryptids from this ancient region may not be a denizen of this earth, but instead a visitor from the stars. Welcome to Cryptid Corner, the series All Things Cryptids, and today we are going to look into the legend of the Flatwoods monster. Today's topic takes us to Flatwoods, West Virginia, a small town in Braxton County, and small town is right because this place has consistently held a population between 2 and 300 people, never having more than 405. And on the evening of September 12th, 1952, an incident would occur that would put eyes all around the globe on this small dot in the middle of West Virginia. At 7:15, a bright fiery object could be seen in the sky above, appearing to crash down on a nearby property. Intrigued by the fallen object, brothers Edward and Fred May, along with their mother Kathleen, their friends Tommy, Neil, and Ronnie, Kathleen's cousin, and West Virginia National Guardsman Eugene Lemon, and a brave doggo would all set out to investigate. The dog would travel ahead of the group, but following some barking, it would rush back, scared of whatever it had encountered. The party would reach the top of the hill when Neil spotted a glowing object about 50 feet away, being described as a pulsating ball of fire. A mist also filled the scene of the sighting, described as having a metallic or sulfuric odor that was irritating to the eyes and nose. Eugene would notice two glowing dots over the orb, and when he would shine his flashlight towards them, the group would be brought face to face with one of West Virginia's most iconic beings, the Flatwoods monster. It is important to note that there are discrepancies with the monster's description given through different interviews, with the biggest discrepancy being the monster's size. It was initially described as being about the size of a man, but over time, the monster would seemingly double in size, being about 10 to 12 feet tall and 4 feet wide. The monster was metallic, with a black or dark green metallic shell that resembled a suit of armor lined with pipes running across the bell-shaped lower half, along with round eyes, or likely eye slits, that glowed a green and orange light, which were those two lights that caught the group's attention initially. And of course, the creature had an iconic red hood behind its round head, which resembled an ace of spades. The monster also had claw-like hands and no visible legs, instead gliding through the air and descending towards the crew whilst making a hissing noise, causing them to flee. Following the encounter, the group would be nauseous, with Eugene vomiting after getting to safety, likely due to the properties of the mist, with Kathleen contacting the sheriff and news agencies for interviews. But upon investigation, the sheriff and deputies searched the area for any signs of a crash, and they would come up empty-handed. No sign of a landing, no impact crater, and no out-of-the-normal smells or mists in the region. But once newspapers got their hands on the story, it spread across the nation, with papers flying off the shelves in awe of what landed in this small town. And so, the legend of the Flatwoods monster was born, being one of West Virginia's first major cryptids and one of the most iconic cryptids of all time. And given West Virginia's status as the cryptid capital of the US, this is quite the important case. And of course, with how big this case was, reports gathered by the Civilian Saucer investigation would come in claiming to have seen this monster. One run-in claimed to be about a week before the sighting in the Flatwoods area involved a mother and her 21-year-old daughter, who had a very similar encounter with the same monster reportedly, with its metal suit, mist, and all. But this time, the mist would cause the daughter to be hospitalized for 3 weeks. Another encounter coming from the nearby Frametown area comes from one day after the Flatwoods report. A family would go on a drive through the mountains at dusk when, all of a sudden, their car would shut down, accompanied by a sulfuric smell. Worried that their car was malfunctioning, the two would hop out to see what the problem was. But as they did, they would encounter the monster, or at least something like it. The bottom half of the creature was the same as the other reports, but the top half was completely different, instead resembling a large reptilian monster. Eventually, the monster would disappear with a flash of light, and as it did, the car started back up again, and the family would leave the area. This variant of the Flatwoods monster is often referred to as the Frametown monster, and it is largely theorized to be what the Flatwoods monster looks like beneath its suit. The lights in the sky would also be reported for weeks to come, but over time, reports would die down. But as time went forward, the Flatwoods monster would not be forgotten, being referenced and featured in video games, TV shows, documentaries, and would be immortalized as one of the most well known tales in cryptozoology and ufology. Although, way more in the field of ufology, given the nature of the case. And although Flatwoods is a small town, it is still commemorated all around this town. And if you go there, there are 5 different Flatwoods monster chairs that you can find. And from what I've seen, each of them have like a little stamp. So if you go to all 5 locations, you get a little Flatwoods monster stamp collection for your travels. I think that's really cool. So just what was the Flatwoods monster? As stated, this case has seen more of an encounter with an alien than a cryptid. Although all aliens that are said to have visited Earth are cryptids by definition, but cryptozoology and ufology tend to stay separate to avoid overlap. But in this case, given how important the Flatwoods monster is to cryptozoology, and also since this is the spooky season, I don't care, we're covering it regardless. What makes the Flatwoods monster so interesting as an alien encounter is the fact that it is more metallic than organic, either being a suit or perhaps even a drone or some sort of robot. It's always been weird to me that when aliens who are capable of traveling for like new star systems all across space are encountered, they're all naked. And the drone theory is also quite interesting, as it would make sense to send drones to scout out other worlds before setting up shop yourself. But given the Frametown encounter, it's also possible that the Flatwoods monster's appearance is just the suit of the creature, which hides a reptilian body underneath. But as I always say, whenever we look at the alien hypothesis, just what are they doing in West Virginia? I mean, the nature is beautiful and all, but they're coming down at dusk. It's going to be pitch black out there. They ain't going to see anything. Many also have famously explained the initial sighting away as a mist sighting inspired by multiple different phenomena, as described by skeptic Joe Nickel in his own investigation of the case. On the same night as the encounter, a meteor was seen above the Pennsylvania, Maryland, and West Virginia area. At first, I assumed that the group could have found the meteor, or they could have like come to the place of the sighting. But the investigation yielded no such finding. And if a meteor that large had touched down, there would have been a significant impact crater. The pulsing light can also be explained as aircraft beacons or hazard lights, likely reflecting off of a pond or puddles of water in the area. And the monster's identity is said to be none other than that of an owl perched in a tree. This explanation has garnered countless eye rolls. Hell, I bet there's people right now commenting down below that it's just so dumb that people would think that this is an owl. But personally, I feel like this is a pretty good match for this monster in particular. The head shape and first reported sizes line up with the barred owl and the snowy owl, with the spade-like hood potentially just being a shadow, and the glowing in the eyes could easily be described as eye shine from the flashlight. The claws were actually the owl's talons, as it was oddly perched up in a tree, and the body could perhaps either be branches or a mossy tree trunk, which would explain the green coloration. The reports of mist is just the one thing that I can't put my finger on, with my only guess being that it could be smoke from a fire. And a fire actually seems to be a pretty solid theory as well, But at the same time, no fires were found in the investigation. With all of these factors combined with a sense of panic, anxiety, and some exaggeration from the kids, and perhaps even some drug use from the adults, Nickel theorizes that this combination of factors could explain the initial sighting, and it wouldn't be too insane to assume that all of the follow up sightings were simply hoaxes attempting to copycat their own sightings to create one hell of a newspaper article and riding the hype of the nationwide interest. But on the note of hoaxes, I personally, as boring as it sounds, think that the Flatwoods Monster was a hoax. What especially makes me think that this thing was a hoax is the discrepancies within the story. Mainly the color and the height changing so frequently. And I mean, the color is kind of understandable, but the height literally doubling really makes it sound like they're really embellishing the size of this creature. And the investigation finding nothing at all definitely does point me to this. No dead birds or rodents that suffocated on this gas, no points where something touched down, nothing. Both the Flatwoods and the Frametown monsters' depictions resemble many other alien depictions prior to the encounter from the media, and the public interest in UFOs at this time was pretty high, as the Roswell incident was about 5 years prior to this. And what better is there to do in West Virginia than to make up a fun story, perhaps even using it as an opportunity to put a small town on the map? Maybe the encounter could have been an elaborate prank pulled off by some teenage pranksters with some time on their hands. The Flatwoods Monster's appearance always had a kind of homemade type of feel to it, at least in my opinion. And I mean, I feel like with enough setup, you could fool some people with an elaborate puppet or some sort of suit while you dangle your homie inside with a sort of pulley system near the tree. The fireball in the sky is the only part that seems pretty rough for me, but I guess it could have been done via a burning kite or fireworks, and that mist that was spotted that irritated them so much was a form of smoke, potentially even from the fireworks, and that would explain the sulfur-like smell too. Of course, also, it's been theorized that this was testing out top secret government technology, which many people have theorized given all the UFO encounters, and we do know that the government liked to cover up aircraft stuff like this with alien sightings and all sorts of stuff like that. So perhaps they could have been trying to cover up aircraft development and perhaps like an exosuit or some sort of drone development and veiling it as an extraterrestrial or a weird creature. The legend of the Flatwoods Monster is one of the most iconic encounters with the unexplainable, unintentionally ushering in an era of West Virginian folklore that hosts a pantheon of some of the most iconic cryptids of all time. Be it an owl, a hoax, a metal puppet, or even an actual alien, the mystery of the Flatwoods Monster still remains a point of interest to people 70 years later, leaving us wondering just what happened in that small town in West Virginia that very night. And that is gonna do it for the Flatwoods Monster. You know, this is a bit more of a popular cryptid than I typically cover, but I mean, it is October. And in retrospect, maybe I should have saved this for the Halloween special, but the Halloween special I have in mind, it's going to be a banger. It's a lesser known cryptid, but not like a super obscure one, but not like a super well known one like the Flatwoods Monster. But, and right, I could have covered this back in September, but the thing is it wouldn't have been on the anniversary. I think it would have been a day before on 9/11. But it's still pretty interesting regardless. What do you think about the Flatwoods Monster? Do you think it was real? Do you think it was just an owl and that they were making everything up? Or do you think it was an outright hoax? Or do you think it was the government going out there and harassing some people out in the mountains? Make sure to comment down below. I'm always interested to see what you all have to comment. But yeah, I think next Cryptid Corner will be pretty interesting too. Still got the whole month planned out. But if you have any suggestions, make sure to leave them down below. I'll always get to them. And even though this month is more dedicated to the spookier and not really having a focus on super plausible cryptids this month, uh, just know that I'll get to those eventually. I've been seeing a lot of plausible cryptids in the comments, and we'll get to that after this month. This month's for the spooky guys, though. But I'm not going to keep you much longer. Thank you for watching. If you like the video, leave a like. If you like the content, make sure to subscribe and ring that bell so that you know the second that these uploads come out. You can go ahead and go to the video. But if you really, really, really like this content and you really want to be a real one, you can become a member. For just $3 a month. You gain early access to these videos that I've been putting out pretty early this time around. I've been kind of working ahead of the curve on getting these videos out super early. But you gain access to the videos early. You get yourself a spot here at the shout out section with the beluga and all the food, and you get priority recommendations on videos. But if you made it this far in the video, then you're a real one regardless. And with that, I'll see you all later. Have a good one, and I'll see you in the next one.